Hey, I'm here with ESPN Kansas City Chiefs writer Adam Teicher, and I'm just going to get right to it. The big story, at least yesterday, was Marcus Peters, and you've been asking a lot of questions. What do you see in him? What's so great about him so far?
Well, there was never a question about his ability. I think everybody knew that he could play. I think he probably would have been a higher draft pick, maybe a much higher draft pick, had he not had the issues with his coaches at Washington. He got thrown off his team during his last year there for some insubordination. So, that was more the issue, his maturity, not his ability to play. So I don't know that anybody, hey, 3 interceptions in one practice is a big deal, but I don't know that anybody's completely surprised by that. Still, we haven't seen that kind of thing. It's an extra big deal for the Chiefs because they had such trouble taking the ball away from opponents last year. Only 6 interceptions, not many fumble returns. So, in one practice, he had half as many interceptions the Chiefs had all last year. That's an encouraging thing for them.
With Sean Smith, you got Phillip Gaines. This secondary is looking pretty stacked if guys can keep this going.
It really does. Even without Marcus Peters missed a lot of the offseason work. The Chiefs that were loaded even during the offseason without Peters and Steven Nelson. They had Phillip Gaines look good. Sean Smith had a big offseason. They got Jamel Fleming, who started for him, Marcus Cooper, who started for him, and even Ron Parker, who's a safety. So the Chiefs are really loaded at cornerback, and I think they may be able to trade a corner at some point and pick up a draft pick when camp is over.
How does that affect the offense in training camp? Does it hurt your offense that your secondary is so good that you multiple times today, Alex Smith, Chase Daniel, they have to tuck and run. They're actually averaging a good amount of yards. Is that hurting their offense?
It's never a bad thing when the defense is doing a good job. I mean, that's never a bad thing. You want it to where you get into a game and it's easier than it was in practice. So, no, I don't think that's a problem. And I will say that I think the offense came back later. Early in practice, the defense was definitely dominating. I think later on, the offense, when it was ones versus ones, the offense really came back. Alex Smith threw a few nice passes to Jeremy Maclin. So I think today was a little more even than it looked like it was going to be when the day started. Certainly probably more even than it was yesterday.
Who has to be that guy for Alex Smith to get over that 0 number for the wide receiver touchdown mark?
Well, obviously Jeremy Maclin. I mean, they're paying him $55 million to be that guy. But you know what? The Chiefs have to identify one of the big things in this camp, in my mind, maybe the biggest issue offensively. They've got to identify somebody to take the pressure off him, somebody else on the outside. Albert Wilson looks like he could be that guy, but let's see him do it in games. He did it in a brief trial toward the end of last year, but he's only 5'9". It's tough on those guys. It's tough for quarterbacks to see the little guy, so we'll see if it works out for him. But, the Chiefs it can't just be Jeremy Maclin. They have to have some help for him on the outside. We know that what Travis Kelce can do, but whether it's Albert Wilson, DeAnthony Thomas, Jason Avant, some combination of those guys, they can't just be Jeremy Maclin on the outside.
Last year, the motto was finishing. That was an underlying theme. You heard it every day, finish every play. This year, not so much. Is there a theme, or is it just play football?
I wouldn't say there's a theme. Last year, everybody was kind of motivated by what happened in the playoff game. They were up 38-10 in the third quarter and couldn't finish it off. So that was kind of the theme last year, but no such thing this year. I mean, if there's a theme in my mind, it's what we were talking about earlier. Get more big plays in the passing game. People talk about no touchdowns from the wide receiver, and yeah, that's embarrassing and not what you want. I don't think in the end it really hurt the Chiefs. I mean, they were a pretty good red zone team. They had Jamal Charles to pick up some of that slack, but they've got to get more big plays in that passing game. That's the big thing this team needs to do, that and get turnovers that it didn't do last year.
All right, Adam Teicher, a Chiefs reporter for ESPN. Thanks for joining us.